Mandy Maxwell, a professional pastry chef, and I'm going to show you how to make a chocolate truffle layered cake. So we're going to start with our flourless chocolate cake, so it gives us that really dense, rich chocolate flavor. To start, you're going to put 1 stick of room temperature butter. Make sure it's really room temperature. And then we're going to put 2 3/4 cups sugar straight into our KitchenAid with a paddle attachment. Put it down, lock it in. This is going to incorporate together. And once it does, we're going to put 1 3/4 cup of cocoa powder straight into it. When you put your cocoa powder in, go ahead and lift it up. Otherwise, you're just going to make a huge mess all over yourself. And when you go to turn your KitchenAid back on, make sure you start at speed 1. Otherwise, it's going to be an explosion. So the tricky part is going to be how we insert our 12 eggs. Unfortunately, we have to do this one at a time in the beginning, purely because if we don't, it's going to get really, really clumpy, and then it's not going to be a beautiful cake that we want. So if you just take your time and be patient, it's definitely well worth it. All right. 1 egg in. With that first egg, you're just gonna stop it. Make sure you really get in there and scrape all those sides. If you do the maintenance now, it'll pay off later. All right, it's our last addition. Let's do it. 5 eggs at once. Even though you add 5 at once, stop your KitchenAid, scrape it, turn it back on for 2 seconds just to make sure it's nice and homogeneous. All right, so now that our cake batter's done, we're gonna prepare our sheet tray. What I've done here is I've put a piece of wax paper that's actually taller than the sheet tray. What that does is it makes our life easier once it's baked and we're unmolding it. All right, so make sure you go ahead and grease that wax paper just so we don't have any problem sticking. Pour it straight on. If you see lumps in your cake, that's what I was talking about. Next time, definitely add your eggs slower. Just spread it out nice and even. This is gonna bake in an oven at 350 for about 17 minutes. I like to put it on or in for about 6 minutes, check it, and then another 6 minutes. Just make sure you're rotating it because it'll get a more even bake on it. All right. Once it's baked, it's pretty much gonna look just like this one. So don't be scared. It kind of comes off the sheet tray a little and it'll fall. That's because it's the flourless chocolate cake. Don't worry, you did nothing wrong. Now to unmold this, we're just going to get another sheet tray, same size. Put a piece of wax paper right on top, just like that. Upside down, sheet tray, flip it. Now see, it's stuck a little. That's where it comes in handy that I made that parchment wider or taller than the sheet tray. Look at how easy that was because I prepared. Pull it back, and now you have a great sheet tray full of cake. And to make our wonderful flat layers for our cake, we're just gonna use cake rings that you can buy at baking goods stores. What this does is allow us to not have to cut that cake in half every time, and it'll all be even. So in a half sheet tray, you can do 2 8 inches and 1 6 inches. Okay, and you cut it just like that. So if you've ever wondered, how do those professionals get it so flat and even? This is how they do it. So this is our flourless chocolate cake, and now I'll show you how to make the Espresso Ganache center. To make our Espresso Ganache frosting, we're first gonna make the ganache, then we're gonna let it cool completely, and then we're gonna whip it up in our KitchenAid. So to start, we're gonna make our ganache by heating up 1½ cups of heavy cream, along with 2 tablespoons of instant espresso. You can use instant coffee, that's fine. I personally like espresso over coffee. That's gonna come together to a boil. And once it does, we're gonna pour it over 2 cups of white chocolate and 2 tablespoons of butter. Make sure this comes to a roaring boil because we want to make sure that all of our white chocolate gets nice and melted. All right, now that it's nice and boiled, we're just going to pour it straight over our butter and white chocolate. When you do this, just give it a little shimmy because you want to make sure all your chocolate gets underneath that layer of cream so that it ensures it gets melted. All right. So now that it's been about a minute, I'm just gonna start stirring it. The trick to stirring a chocolate ganache, this is gonna sound crazy, but just hold your rubber spatula like you're writing with a pencil and stir from the center, and then slowly but surely just kind of go around the outside. This way, it gets all incorporated and doesn't get as much air as if you're just like slopping around, getting it everywhere. So if you notice there's little bits of chocolate inside, don't worry, just stop, put it over a double boiler, and melt out the rest of it. All right. Now you're just gonna set this into your fridge and let it come to a nice cool temperature. We're just gonna pour it. This is it chilled, not liquid at all. We're just gonna put it straight into our KitchenAid with a whisk attachment. It looks like there's no way this is gonna become our frosting, but just wait. Once we whip in all that air, you'll never use buttercream again. So turn it on high, and it's gonna change colors drastically. It's gonna go from this dark espresso latte color to a really just lighter, much prettier buttercream. So say you're doing this and all of a sudden it gets this really weird texture and you're not really sure what's up with that. That's just because it's actually too cold. Don't worry, all you're gonna do, take it off your KitchenAid, and if you don't have gas burners, then you're gonna have to put this over a water bath. But if you have a gas burner, just heat up the sides of it. It just needs to be heated a little, and then it'll come back together much nicer. Cool. And then just stick it right back on. And whip it back. While you're waiting for that to come together, go ahead and get your piping bag ready with any type of piping tip. I'm doing mine with a rosette tip, just so that we can decorate really pretty. Perfect. All right. So what started off as a super runny mixture is now a nice and super fluffy. It holds a peak. This ganache is one that can also be found inside of a truffle. All we did was, instead of pouring it into a chocolate shell, we just whipped it up so that we can use it as frosting. So what I'm gonna do is take one circle of my cake, my 8-inch, and then just go all the way around the outside. I personally like a lot of frosting, so let's just fill it all in. Whoa. Okay, and then just take your next layer of cake, put it right on top. Okay, now this guy is a little bit smaller, so we're just gonna put frosting in the center, but don't worry, that negative space is not gonna get left out. Okay, put that right there. And then what we're gonna do, we're going to use this space to then go back and put really nice rosettes. All right, and there you have it. I'm Mandy Maxwell, and this is how to make a chocolate truffle layer cake.